to another TMG interview, everybody. My name is Paul Preston. Excited to talk about another indie film today. The heart of American cinema. This is called What Lies West, a coming-of-age film available now all over VOD. So that's YouTube, that's Google Play, Amazon, iTunes, you name it, the whole deal. And the filmmaker I'm talking to now is writer-director Jessica Ellis. Jessica Ellis.
Hi, Paul. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to get to talk to you.
Great. Well, then I'll let you lead the way because I could tell people what the film is about, but I always like the filmmaker to do it because they'll touch on the things that are most important to them in terms of describing what the story is and what it means. So I love the tagline, "What's the best that can happen?" I'm going to start working that into my daily vernacular, like alongside, I've told you a million times not to exaggerate. I say that a lot. But tell us about Nicolette and Chloe.
So, What Lies West is a coming of age adventure film about Nicolette, who's a new college graduate who's in that period where you're a little bit lost and don't know what to do in your life. And she takes a summer job babysitting a 16-year-old whose mother won't let her stay at home alone. And that's Chloe, who's very reclusive, defensive, passionate. And they're very different people, and sort of as they are forced together, they start to bond as they're taking longer and longer hikes together, with Chloe finally revealing that her dream is to take a multi-day hike to the Pacific Ocean without her mom knowing. And that's the story we follow them on.
Yeah, let me tell you before we start how I spent the pandemic. Yeah, everything was closed, but outdoors was open. So 8 national parks. I wrote it down. 2 of them twice, 12 beaches, 11 botanical gardens, plus forests, parks, tons of bike paths, river rafting, orchards, and waterfall hikes.
Wow.
So I get the idea of you need to get out and walk it off, whatever it is. In my case, it's a pandemic. In Chloe's case, it's a sort of stifling childhood under her mother's anxiety driven care. Um, and I was surprised I didn't see tons of people everywhere and everything that I did, with the pandemic, and thank God I didn't. So now you grew up in Sonoma County, so did you have this brush with anxiety in your family or listlessness in general, and was that part of your youth?
Yeah, anxiety disorders sort of run in my family. I didn't escape either. I have one too. So it was something that I grew up, and I got to see it affecting younger generations as their parents or aunts and uncles and grandparents would have anxiety about things. I would watch how like kids would soak that in and react in various ways, as you do with any trait that your parent has. So definitely I had a pretty carefree childhood, but definitely as I've gotten older, the anxiety has set in more. I think it tends to hit in my family around 30. So it was definitely an environment that I am used to living in and wanted to try to depict accurately to my experience of how anxiety disorders look in my family.
Yeah, and shout out to Anna Peterson, who
Yeah,
played
Anna
Chloe's
Peterson.
mother. A very tricky and well delivered performance because she comes aboard and she's so high strung and so wound tight that there's laughs, uncomfortable ones, but there's laughs. And then as you go along, you realize, well, Chloe is not happy in this situation. That you realize just how sort of smothering uh, her mother is. So it was a delicate balance, I thought, for her to pull off that performance. So kudos to her. And I'm
Yeah,
surprised her IMDb page wasn't bigger. I was like, whoa, she just get like a handful of performances. I hope she gets a lot more off of this.
yeah, we were really lucky to find Anna. She just came in and blew us away in casting, and we loved her. And it's such a hard role to play because she's not an abusive mother. She's not a mean or cruel person, but she has a completely unmanaged anxiety disorder that has taken over her brain at this point, and she can't determine what is rational fear and what is irrational fear. And unfortunately her daughter, I think, as many parents, have a lot more anxiety surrounding their kids, that is going to bear the brunt of that. And so to play that in a way that was not that was I mean, because it is funny. Like, I will have phobias about things that are absurd, and I know they're absurd, and I've had to talk down siblings and stuff from panic attacks over things they know are absurd. And you do learn that it's a double-edged sword of, it is kind of funny, but it's also very difficult for the person experiencing it, even if they can rationalize, like they can rationally recognize that what they're feeling is not probably happening. They can't get past the fear, and that's what makes it a disorder. It's not reacting to reality.
Yeah, I should say the film is the same way. Is that we're talking about, we've already launched into like a sort of heavy reason why Chloe wants to take this hike, but it is funny.
Yeah,
In fact,
it's a very light movie.
yeah,
It's just got some real emotional punch to it, I hope.
yeah, I'm on Team Chloe too for a lot of the laughs because of the way she just rips on the whole phone culture and social media thing. In fact, it's a necessary evil, for the movie guys. I have to get the word out about all the stuff I'm doing here. But yeah, I just love the fact that they mentioned, was it Kylie or Kendall Jenner? And Chloe's immediate, without thought about it, response: "She's dumb."
Yeah.
Uh,
It was
on
it was
point, I
int
think.
it was interesting. I don't know how many, kind of analog kids there are anymore. I've gotta think there's gotta be a few Chloes out there, but in a way, Chloe was transported much more from the late '90s when I was growing up, when technology was an option. It wasn't a requirement of life. But I hope there are kids still out there like that are not completely living on Instagram and TikTok at all hours, at all times.
I like to say it's interesting to live in the times of the smartphone, but I
Mhm.
think it was much more interesting to grow up in the times of the development of the smartphone. You get to have that sort of childhood without all the FOMO and the hell else is going on. And then get the advances of, instant information as you grow older and become an adult. But yeah, just watching Nicolette, she's in the film going to become an actress. So she wants to go off to LA after she graduates college, which just happened in the film. And, but her what's the word I'm looking for? Her rabid desire to take part in the social media culture, as thinking this will help my career as an actor. Sadly, a true fact. Now, social media numbers are all over resumes for actors, and you
Yeah,
can get hired based on that. But she has so much faith in social media image consultants. It's kind of gross in your
it
film.
is, but she's not wrong. That's the
I
thing.
know, I
So
know,
yeah.
I
So
know.
Nicolette is the older character in the film, and her phone is never out of her hand. Like anytime she would come up to me when we were shooting and be like, "Do I have my phone in the scene?" Yes, you always have your phone. Your phone is in your hand at every single moment. And yeah, I mean, now you can't get considered for roles unless you have 30,000 followers on Instagram, it's she's not wrong that that's a necessity, but it does definitely suck that it is.
I've always wanted to like book a gig up at some venue and go up to them and say, "Hey, look, I got this band and we'd like to perform at your venue. What's your social media?" "Well, we have 2 million followers." "Oh, 2 million followers? Come on in." "Yeah, can we come in next Friday?" "Great, you're booked. Thanks."
Yeah.
"Oh, by the way, our show, we take a small dog and we take a dump on its head. That's our whole show." Or do you not care what the show is? You just care about the social media numbers. And I don't always see them translate. I've seen
Oh,
DJs from LA come to, or from Vegas come to LA, and people are like, "Well, where are the crowds?" Well, it's easier to click like than to get off the couch and show up.
it is very, very much easier. That was something we discovered when crowdfunding, was that the translation rate of followers to people willing to give you money is about 1%. So,
Exactly. "I
you
like
know,
what you're doing. Good luck with it. I'll be over here."
yeah. I hope you get that done. There's an enormous gap when you start asking people to do anything.
Well, speaking of doing stuff, so I have been to Napa and Sonoma County. Went to the jazz festival, I guess, that you guys have up there,
Yeah.
and that's about it. Went to Sonora once, which is more mining country, and then the Bay Area. So I in all these trips I've taken, I've been to Yosemite, Kings Canyon, Sequoia, and there's all these farms and beaches and up to Halama. And I'm looking to take a northern trip. So up there, they looks I saw redwoods in some of
Mhm.
the shots in the film. So and I it's one of my goals to, if you've ever seen Disney's Soaring Over California at the California Adventure
Yes.
Park, the old one before it was
Yeah,
Soaring
the
Over.
good one. Let's just call it what it is.
Let's call it what it is. Uh, the non CGI shots of breathtaking California. I want to visit all of them. So
Yeah.
Redwood Creek, I think, is where they're kayaking up the river. Were you in that area? Oh, and or what areas up there do you recommend? Just outside of the movie, outside of our other listeners, just you and me. I need places to go. What do you got?
Yeah, well, I read it's funny. I've looked at that creek in the Soaring Over California thing and been like, is that Sonoma County? Is that Marin? I'm not sure exactly where it is, but yeah, the Redwood area up there, when you get up around the Russian River, when you're in Guerneville and Healdsburg and those places, it's amazing. You follow this tiny twisting road through tiny little towns and just 200-foot trees all the way to the ocean. You can take it. It's an incredible area out there, and really, really beautiful, and unfortunately getting threatened more and more by wildfires every year.
Mm.
But yeah, the redwoods in the Russian River Valley are just astonishing. You feel so small and yet a part of the world in that kind of environment. um, and there's no screens anywhere, and that helps.
Yes, they're you feel small, but they're helping you breathe.
Yeah.
So there's that. Well, let's talk about that weather then, because first of all, everyone says, "Well, we got to go shoot in LA because the weather's so gorgeous." We shoot in California; it's beautiful. You fires were part of your. I mean, it's always torture for filmmakers making an indie film because something's going to go wrong, and I love those stories, even though they are torturous. I just love hearing them. The struggle is part of the joy of a finished movie. But this one was pretty big. Wildfires, right? Is no joke.
Yeah, yeah, we had so we shot our first half in the summer of 2017, and then we were supposed to take a couple-month break. And in that break, the Tubbs wildfire in 2017 just came down like a monster and destroyed the hills surrounding Santa Rosa, which was where I'm from and where we did a lot of our shooting. And there were a couple of scenes when we went back for reshoots and for additional shooting, that like everything directly behind the camera was ash. I mean, black. It looked like you were in Mordor. And then the fire had stopped right at a trail. And in front of us, it looked the way it had looked when we were there a few months before, but just complete devastation behind us. So it is really upsetting and shocking what the fires are doing to the landscape up there. It's just wild. And, our crew that was up there had to evacuate. Our actors, some of them live up there. Everybody had to evacuate. And that was really the first of the bad wildfire years. And it's been worse every
We
year since
we have
then.
one already. Pacific
Yeah.
Palisades fire is
Yeah.
putting ash on the both of us here in the valley, right? I mean, already. And
Yeah.
it seems early, but yeah. But that's not where it ended. I was reading the press kit. Oh no, we're having trouble with our funding. Oh no, our lead actor is a diva. Yeah, you one upped all that by having open heart surgery during shooting.
I
So
did.
good
I
lord. Well, I'm glad we're talking today. What?
Yes.
I mean, obviously that's a huge problem. What became, but like, just how did that go down?
Yeah, it's funny. It wasn't like I had a heart attack. I don't have terrible cholesterol in my 30s or anything, but a routine test revealed that I had a genetic my heart was built slightly wrong. I found out. And so it was like literally the next day I was in an 8-hour surgery for
Mm.
it. And full out or open heart surgery where you're on the lung machine and intubated. And it was pretty exciting. I was in the hospital for about 10 days. We had just started our second round of crowdfunding, I think 2 days before this happened. So before we ever knew it would happen. And my husband told me that when I woke up, they got the tube out of my throat. I could talk. The first thing I said was, "How is the crowdfunding going?" So definitely, the having the movie to focus on was really useful because I knew I had to get back to something and get better so I could get back out there. It delayed the second half of our shoot by about 6 months because it takes a while to recover from that. I don't think I could walk a block for about a month. So yeah, it was quite a challenge to throw in the middle of my first movie for sure.
Yeah, how's the crowdfunding? Is all the cast and crew still on board? And
Yeah. Did anyone quit?
how's my heart? Like
Yeah.
third. Like,
Well, I figured I was alive, so
yeah,
it
you
must
were.
have gone okay.
Yeah, exactly. Um, well, let's talk about the crew then, because I interviewed Jennifer Westfall of Wavelength Productions a while back when they put out the Netflix film "Knock Down the House." I believe the one about
Mm.
Ocasio Cortez's run and all the women that ran for office. in the wake of 2016. And they also made Won't You Be My Neighbor. And they make a conscious effort to use mostly female cast and crew. In fact, I interviewed her and Joe Plummer, who was like another producer that she works with. And Joe's like, yeah, I'm like the guy at the productions. And you had an 85% cast and crew made up of female or a female identifying artist. So truly, that, I mean, clearly that's important to you. So tell us why and how that came about.
It was mostly intentional. It was we were telling such a female-centered story. And it was partially that we wanted it to be a really safe feeling environment for these young actors to be really vulnerable in, and we thought it would help to some degree in there. But also my husband, who's the DP, he had consistently found that the women he worked with on camera teams were so much more qualified and so much farther behind in where they wanted to be in their career. They just, they were not able to move up, not given the opportunities to move up. So we just wanted to pack the crew with as many women, just not only because they're talented, but also just to give them, additional credits to let them maybe move up a level in their job on the sets, and hopefully boost them in their career. And it ended up being, I mean, it was just the most wonderful set. The guys we had were fantastic as well. We did have a few, but it was a really fun set, a really relaxed atmosphere, no ego problems, no anything. It was just a delight to be around those people for 14 hours a day.
Yeah, and I see that the Academy's now going to have their inclusion requirements for movies to get nominated for Best Picture and other things. So I think that's good, and it's for the reason you said. At first I thought, well, we want to make sure we get the best person, but you don't sometimes even know who the best person is because of the inability for them to move to the next level on the ladder, as you said.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it starts at your level, and kudos to you to like build the resumes of highly qualified people.
Yeah, it's sometimes people just need the opportunity, and what are who am I? I'm not wrestling with $100 million to make a movie. Who am I to say like you don't deserve to be the camera operator on my film? Like that just sounds ridiculous. So it was a great and I mean all of them had more experience than me. So I was the least experienced person on that set.
And then the whole thing went through, as you talked about the campaign, Seed and Spark. Now, there's always a debate about what you want to do when you start a project. Ooh, Seed and Spark, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. How did Seed and Spark benefit you as the choice you went with?
We really liked it specifically because they do a lot. We had never run a fundraising campaign before, and they do a lot of feedback for you before you release the campaign into the wild. They have specialists there that read it and look at it and say, like, here's where we think you could improve things. Here's where some different rewards might help you. And so we wanted that kind of tutorial as we were putting the campaigns together, and they were wonderful about that. They're truly a great place to work with.
Did you took script notes? And like
Not script
oh,
notes.
okay, I was gonna
Not
say
script notes, but notes on the campaign, I mean, because it's a lot of writing to put together a fundraising campaign, and we definitely took notes on content, on how to sell the movie
gotcha.
through them.
Okay, I thought it was like here's what make it better before we put it up on
No.
Seed and Spark. Like what? No, good. Okay,
If they
good.
had offered it, I would have listened.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen,
But no.
I actually, from what I was reading, you cast two relative unknowns. They had stage credits, but no film credits, and you did the thing that Hollywood does. You had no script, but you cast the actors in it. And so, how did that whole development start? You looked at them, were inspired by who they were, or you knew what you wanted, kind of. What was the combination of things that happened to build the script?
I knew the two of them already, and I knew how they interacted together. I knew they had a really fun chemistry. And I thought, well, it would be to my advantage and to the film's advantage to put this really unique pairing of people on the screen together and see what happens. So it really developed out of, they have very different personalities, and these are not characters based on their personalities either. But their energy is so different. And I just tried to find the most contrasting situation to put those two people into that would create a lot of fun and interest on drama. And also, I mean, the fact that they knew each other and they knew me and they didn't have a lot of film experience meant I felt like we could skip over a lot of the the bullshit. Like they could be vulnerable day one, and it would work. And I think we captured that. I think that bet paid off.
And you just kept their names,
Yeah,
Nicolette and
everything
Chloe.
I did, it's I'm a writer first, and everything I did with the script in this was catered towards making first-time actors feel more comfortable in the material, making it easier for them to establish their character and understand what they're feeling in every scene. It was a different style to how I normally write, but I do think it gave them a head start on the process. Not that they needed it, they're great actors, but also just it helped make them feel safer, and that was my goal.
Had you seen them in a show? In a
Oh
stage
yeah,
show? Oh, really?
I'd
Okay.
seen them both act. Yeah.
Oh, musicals and things, or did they do like a Wait Until
Yeah,
Dark or something?
Nicolette has done a lot of musicals. She's got her degree in theater and musical theater, and Chloe I had seen in some high school. They're both my nieces, so I had known them since they were born.
You know, there was an Ellis there, so I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure, but you never know. Okay, gotcha.
Several people have said she is my daughter, and unless I was 12 years old, I do not accept that
I
one.
refute that, sir.
Yeah, but no, they're both my nieces, so I'd known them since they were born, and I just knew they could do it. That was probably the thing that Hollywood friends tried to talk me out of the most, was casting no name actors, and there's certainly disadvantages to it. You're not going to attract VC or investors with no name actors. It's going to be harder to sell the movie, but in terms of being authentic to what the story was and making a good movie, never was a question in my mind that they were the right two people to put in this. I knew they were going to be great on screen, and I am 100% happy with how they turned out.
Nicolette is a strong lead, but I think it's Chloe that has this shocking authenticity for that kind of repressed, young, timid girl, but who has dreams but stands behind those
Yeah,
stronger than you ever see her in any other situation, which is really cool.
she's got a lot of fierceness to her that I really love. But I mean, it's funny when now that we're seeing reviews and reactions to the movies, it's very clear that there are Nicolette people and there are Chloe people, and it really breaks down about 50-50. And it's really fun to watch who is a Nicolette person and who is a Chloe
Well,
person.
I think I said I'm a Chloe person just
Yeah, you
because
are a Chloe person.
Kylie Jenner's dumb.
Yeah.
That's all I need. That's all I need. But just all the risks you took on no name actors and everything else. Eventually, Passion River ends up being the name at the top of the film. Is Passion River Presents. What are they all about, and how did you end up working in that collaboration?
Passion River is a wonderful distribution company that has primarily made their name in documentaries. They're a really well-respected documentary house, but they do narrative occasionally when they get excited about something. Distribution, I mean, really the post-process was eye-opening for me. It was not something I had experience with. Our producers had a lot of set experience, but not a lot of post experience. So we were all sort of feeling our way through the dark for a long time. And finally, a friend of mine who works in development and it had worked on projects my size reached out to me and was like, why is your movie not out yet? What are you doing? What is going on? And we were still trying to figure out how to distribute it. And so she put us in contact with a few different distributors, and Passion River luckily jumped on the film and really wanted to release it. So, for us, it was less about, we need to get picked up by, A24 or a big house or something like that, and have really impressive names, and more, let's find someone who loves this project as much as we do. Let's find someone that fits in with the aesthetic of the story and really wants to tell a good story, and Passion River was wonderful for that.
And when it comes to a video on demand release, you're out there as much as any other major studios project would be.
Absolutely.
It's not like you're in fewer theaters. No, you're all in the same homes, which is every single one. And it
Yes.
can be accessed by the same Roku or Apple TV to find the movie, which I recommend. There's another plug on how to get it. So um, so what was your film festival experience like, and was it during pandemic?
Yeah, it was short. We had just sort of started. We premiered at the Twin Cities Film Festival in, God, I think October of 2019. And that was great. And then we had Coven in January of 2020. And then the pandemic hit and everything shut down. And we did one virtual film festival at really early on. I think it was in April or maybe May. And then it was sort of like, is this something we want to keep pursuing? the film festival experience is so much about networking and meeting people and taking your film to these places and developing a community with other independent filmmakers. And while it's great that anybody can go to a virtual film festival, you don't have to actually be in the area. It does take, I think, some of the benefit away for the actual filmmakers. And they're expensive, and you never know if you're going to get in. And so it just seemed like, all right, let's pull this out and try to focus on getting all of our music rights in order and getting it into distribution and go that route instead. So it was short, but the two that we got to do in person were wonderful. We had a great time at both of those.
Yeah, so you slap the laurels on the website and off you go.
Yeah, exactly. We got a couple.
Yeah, but I'm so excited for those to come back. Like you talk about that camaraderie. It's like, oh yeah, the lobby is full of people with talking movies. I can't get enough of that. So I look forward to that coming back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, whatlieswest.com, at whatlieswest. It seems pretty much everywhere there's social. Is that your Twitter and IG handles for the film? But let me end this interview with every question I ask everybody who comes on the show. What is your favorite movie of all time?
I'm going to get in trouble if I answer this honestly. I will give my professional indie filmmaker
not by
answer.
me. No,
my professional indie filmmaker answer is Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Started the indie revolution in the 90s, and I just rewatched it again for another podcast, and that movie has a spellbinding quality. I can't look at my phone. I can't look away from the damn screen. Like, if I need to go to the bathroom, I will wait the full 90 minutes for that movie to be over, because I'm so captivated by the acting in that film.
I thought about that film the other day because my girlfriend is moving in. Now I have two cars, right? I have one for like a job and then one for regular car. I'm not a hotshot or anything. It's just, and then she's going to bring in a car. It's like, do I put a third key on my keychain? I immediately thought of Sex, Lies, and Videotape when James Spader's talking about having too many keys.
Too many keys.
Owned, it's like I thought of that very scene just recently. That's cool. So yeah, clearly that movie can stick with you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it obviously launched the career of just a phenomenal filmmaker. Clearly won an Oscar later, and Soderbergh is just I'm so glad that he didn't really retire.
Yeah, he's threatened it several times, and he always comes back. But he's such an authentic filmmaker. He doesn't always make great films, but he always makes his films, and I think that's fantastic.
I always talk about Matt Damon and Clooney and Brad Pitt being the best casting of all time back in Ocean's 11, one of the best casting, because they started off, they just don't rely on their looks. These guys are handsome, they are movie stars, but they've all got Oscars because they just pursue interesting projects. So like Soderbergh and like these three guys, they make bad movies, but you got to see everything they do.
Yeah.
He has everything they do. Every once in a while, you're going to get Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or you're going to get Michael Clayton, or, you're going to get something genius. Let Them All Talk, Soderbergh's last film on HBO Max with Meryl Streep. Outstanding movie, underseen criminally, unfortunately, but it has Meryl Streep, which means if you're alive, and she is, you need to see it. So
for sure.
Let Them All Talk. Check out that one. Come on, what was the one you were going to say?
Now this is the true, like, in my heart, I will sit down and watch this movie at any moment it's on, which is Big Trouble in Little China.
Jack Burton.
Exactly.
Me. I mean, come on. That's a great movie.
I have watched that movie approximately 5,000 times. I will probably watch it another 5,000 times.
Well, you know what old Jack Burton says at a time like this? Old Jack Burton says, "What the hell?"
There you go. That was very good.
I'm not looking forward. They keep threatening the remake with Dwayne Johnson. It's
not allowed.
Not even allowed.
No, because the whole thing with Jack Burton is he's an idiot, and The Rock won't play an idiot. Like you have to have somebody that is not afraid to look extremely stupid, and he'll look goofy and funny, but I don't think he'll agree to look dumb.
Yeah. Again, I went to a Q&A once with James Hong. I was like, it's David Lopan,
and so many other things. James Hong is in everything.
That's his thing. He's talking about super for me. I'm like, David Lopan.
Yeah.
No, that's a great movie. John Carpenter. If you haven't seen that one too, 1986 or something. It's classic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, That wraps the TMG interview for What Lies West. Follow me and all of us movie guys on Twitter at The Movie Guys, Facebook.com/The Movie Guys. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram, all that nonsense. Daily jokes, links, articles, media, more interviews like this. It's all out there. Thanks to Jessica Ellis. Do you have personal plugs, Facebook and Twitter or anything?
You can find me on Twitter at all hours of day and night at Baddest Mamma Jamma if you want to.
Baddest Mamma Jamma.
Yes.
All right. For a second, I thought it was at all hours of day and night. That was your Twitter handle. That may not be taken. And as ever, you can find everything we're up to also at themovieguys.net. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks so much.
Movie Guys!